I'm Nina with Rustic Cedar Homestead, and today is February 26th. I have been doing a lot of seed starting, and if you want to know what my favorite varieties are to start for growing in our greenhouse in the snow or our outside smallish market garden, I hope you'll watch the rest of this video.
To us, and to the seeds we'll plant together.
I've started onions, lettuces, brassicas, some herbs, and celery. And I've got all the seedlings here behind me, so I'll show you what they look like here today. The very first thing I always start are my onion seeds, and those were started on February 5th. Talking about onions today, these are some of my favorites. My very favorite, which I'm actually not starting today, is the gold coin onion. It's called a cippollini or cippollini. I'm not exactly sure how you say it. This is kind of a big example. This is probably more the size of what I picked. They are the best roasting onions I've ever had. They just like get sweet and melty and caramelized, and I mean, you could just eat them out of the pan. I'm not starting it today because I actually direct sow this one, and from the looks of the greenhouse, you can see not only do I need to remove some snow from the greenhouse, but I'm not doing any direct sowing outside. I am going to start the Ailsa Craig onions and the Talon onions, and these are both just a large, I think they're both white onions. You can direct seed these. It does say that you can do that, but we have such a short growing season. I don't know, I just feel like if I start the seeds in a tray that I'm getting a head start. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never actually compared the two. I should try that sometime. But I just like to grow them in these trays from Bootstrap Farmer. If you've never heard of Bootstrap Farmer and their trays, they're amazing. They're super heavy duty. I've been using them for years. And you just grow it in here kind of like you're growing grass. And the other thing I kind of like about growing seeds or growing onions from seed in a tray like this, so I'm just going to sprinkle these in here. You can direct sow onion seeds. They're pretty frost hardy. You can put them out there. They end up being something you have to thin if you want very big carrot. I say the word thin and I automatically think carrots, but they end up being something that you have to thin if you want to get a little bigger onion. So that's why I like to do it this way, because I can just pull each onion plant out of this and put it in the ground at the spacing I want. And if you want to keep track of which onions are in which part of the tray, I just put a little tag here to separate the two. You know, in the end, I don't really care too much, but sometimes I want to know what did better than something else. And then I just sprinkled those on top, so I'm just gonna take a little bit more potting soil and cover them all up. Onion seeds are pretty small, and they don't need to be planted very deep. This is how they look 3 weeks later. Next, I started my lettuces, my cauliflower, broccoli, kale, cabbages, and some herbs. And these were all started on February 15th. Hey, are you hiding in here?
What? Hey, this isn't preparation for our next meal.
I'm going to be starting seeds for some of my... I'm going to do a lot of variety. I'm not going to do a ton of soil blocks, but I'm going to do a lot of varieties because not everything works in here in February, and so if something doesn't work, maybe the next thing will. So last year when I planted cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, about this time, and I'll bring these seeds into the house for the next several weeks and probably not put them out here until probably the beginning of April. I'll bring these back out here and plant them. I got really nice cauliflower and cabbage by June, I guess it was. you'll notice I left some space between these rows of soil blocks. I find if I leave space between those rows that the roots really do get air pruned, which is supposed to be the benefit of soil blocking, is it keeps the, or one of the benefits, it keeps the seedlings from getting root bound, and then they don't suffer as much transplant shock. So I feel like the more separated you can make them, the healthier the seedlings will be. But I'm not going to leave these in here. Well, I'm between you and I say I'm not going to leave them in here for longer than 4 weeks, but we'll see. That always remains to be seen. So the first thing I'm going to plant is my very favorite romaine lettuce. It is called Monte Carlo. I get it obviously from Johnny's. It is super easy to grow. I've had great success with it in my climate, even in the greenhouse. I can grow it outside, I can grow it inside, and it's 46 days. And then I'm going to put a couple of seeds in each soil block. This has a really good germination rate. Like you can see, Johnny says that 98% germination rate. I bet every soil block I've ever started with this has given me 2 romaine seedlings. And then I just take them and split them and plant them both. So it's kind of like having 2 trays. So when I tell you things are my favorite, it's for 3 reasons. It grows really well here in our climate, or outside or inside the greenhouse. You know, usually my very favorite things are really versatile, meaning I can grow them in both places. I also have favorites because it sells well at the farmer's market. If I don't sell it, and we don't really eat it, I just don't grow it. But the number one reason that something will be my favorite is taste. As far as my favorite other kind of lettuce that's not romaine, and I don't want to say loose leaf lettuce, even though I do usually use this as loose leaf lettuce, but you can also grow a whole head of it and use it, would be the year-round butterhead. And where did I get this? Oh, I got this from True Leaf Market, but and most butterheads are good, but I really like this year-round butterhead. I'll show you one that I've got growing in the greenhouse now. So this is what a head of the year-round butterhead looks like, and I've got a few of them. Some of them are pretty small, but they love it in here. They love it outside because, let's see, it's a 60 to 70 day, but you can harvest it earlier too for loose leaf. But it tastes good. It's got a great texture. It must be somewhat heat resistant or tolerant of heat because it grows here in the greenhouse. Now, I say that, and I can't grow it through July, obviously, in here, but I can grow it outside in July. For me, it has been heat tolerant. All right, so then I'm just gonna take whatever you have on hand and cover these little divots up. I didn't label these, but I do remember what they are. So we're going to, I have some tags. These are all tomato tags, I think. Wouldn't it be a great idea if I took these and put them in like what I have for my seed sorting so that I could find them? Because I want to reuse them every year. Yeah, these are all tomatoes too, believe it or not. Oh, here's a year-round butterhead. All right, so I've got a favorite cauliflower that I've been growing, but I've also got some new ones that I'm kind of excited about. This one, I know the label is cut off here, but I've had it for a couple of years. And cauliflower seed is generally good 3 to 5 years maybe. But this one is called a green Macerata cauliflower. This is a Baker Creek, an heirloom variety, and it is green. But it was really easy to grow here. When I say easy, I mean easy for cauliflower. It was easy to grow in the greenhouse. It grew outside. It grew pretty fast. I have 75 days on here. Even though it says on this package that it prefers cool conditions, this was the one that I grew where I started it in here last year about this time. And by June, I was picking it. So it handled temps in here until June. So the ones I'm excited about trying are the Denali cauliflower from Johnny's. I'm also gonna try the Veronica. And this is a purple variety called Graffiti. That one I'm excited about. Really consistent moisture for cauliflower, I learned the hard way. Ask me how I know. You know, I plant all these seeds and I think, oh, I shouldn't be planting this many. You know, like germination can be sketchy for one, but also Nina's maintenance can be sketchy. So we're just hedging our bets here. I used to be really hard on myself for not using things like seed efficiently. And I just decided, you know what? Seeds, although they are getting to be more expensive, they're pretty cheap in the long run. You know, even if you have to spend $5, you guys ever do that? You're hard on yourself for not being efficient with things or killing seedlings. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to beat yourself up. There's so many other things we could be beating ourselves up about, right? I mean, most people aren't even going out of their way to grow stuff, so. Hi.
Hey.
What's up?
I trusted those two to go out on the side by side.
Did like Owen shut the net?
Yeah.
Does he have his seatbelt on?
I don't know. I was in feeding the dog, so.
Because Kyle was just in there talking to me about, oh, can we go 40 on the...
I don't know. I did not say go 40. I said you can maybe go 25, 30.
Dear Lord, does somebody have a phone on them?
I hope, yes, Kyle does. I want to go out fishing.
If you've ever been interested in starting soil blocks, I highly recommend it. And you don't have to get all of the expensive soil blockers. You know, there's all different sizes. I mean, I literally used this 5, I think these are 1.5 or 1 3/4 inch squares, but I literally use this and sell at a farmer's market. Would I like to have a bigger one? Yeah, but they're like, I think they're a couple hundred, maybe $300. And I may do that sometime. But the garden space I have, I seem to be okay with just starting, you know, like 3, 4, 5 trays at a time. And that really, you know, this works for that. But it really isn't hard. And all the potting up, I don't pot up. I know there are market farmers that use like the little tiny, what are they, 1/2 inch soil blocker, and then they pot those up into an inch soil blocker, into 2 inches. You know, you can get all the way up to, I think, a 4-inch soil blocker. The time it would take me to do that, I don't think would be efficient. We're back to talking about efficiency. I don't know why, because Nina is not efficient. I used to be. When I had 3 kids at home and a full-time job, I think I was a lot more efficient. Now I've kind of decided, oh, that's a little, for me, it's unnecessary. Or maybe I've just gotten better at delegating. I don't know. Do any of you struggle with delegating? This having 1 kid thing now and 1 teenager is so much less work than the 3 boys at home. Oh my gosh. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing I love more than my boys. But they're a lot. And Owen is just such an easygoing kid. But I think it's part of slowing down too, like, you know, doesn't it kind of seem obvious that if you're growing your own food, you've slowed a lot of things down in your life? So maybe that's it. I don't have to be as efficient. Not with my schedule or with broccoli. So we're gonna talk about broccoli next. My favorite broccoli, I think just because I finally was able to grow it. Oh, here it is called, it's a mini broccoli. Is that funny to anyone else that I was finally able to grow it because it's mini broccoli? It's called Sweet Stem, and I actually think I did not see it because this is from 2022. I don't think I actually saw it in the Johnny's catalog. There's probably something similar, but it's what I've been growing in here in the greenhouse all winter, and I love it. It tastes good, it sells good, it grows good. Love it. Can't say enough good things about it. In fact, I need to pick some today, so I'll do that. The stem is good to eat. I mean, obviously from the name Sweet Stem, you would assume that the stem is good, but it is delicious. And Joel and Owen don't even like it when I cook it. They're just like, just let us eat it raw. It's a few years old. It does say it had a 99% germination rate in 2022. So I'm gonna put 2 seeds in a thing. And if I don't get 2 seedlings that grow, hopefully I get the 1. And if I get 2, I'll just cut out the weaker seedling. I did finally grow some heads of broccoli also. And as much as I like that, I think I like the taste of the stem broccoli better. This is the head broccoli, I think, that I did finally grow. Which one? I think it was this Waltham 29. It's so let me see, Waltham 29. It's an heirloom variety I got from Baker Creek. This one I had success with. This Desico broccoli is another one I've had a little bit of success with. So I'm gonna grow these because I've grown them before. And then these are 2 new ones that I'm growing. So this is a Gypsy, which is also a head of broccoli. And this is Apollo, which is a mini broccoli, or they call it bunching broccoli. One thing they say about this Gypsy, even though you do get 1 main head from it, you will also get offshoots then afterwards. So that was part of the reason I picked this one. I'm all about the side shoot broccoli. That is the kind I go for. In our shorter season, you know, these are 60, this is a 65 day, this one's a 70 day. So I like to go for a shorter growing period because here in northern Minnesota, our spring seems to just, we don't have a spring growing season unless it's here in the greenhouse because we'll have snow on the ground until May. Do any of you watch from a place that it never snows? Like it, and you can't imagine what it must be like to have snow? I can't imagine what it would be like to live somewhere that, you know, in January it can be 70, 80, 90 degrees. How do you deal with the bugs? I'm not going to grow the tatsoi. I'm actually going to do this variety. It's called Hautau Hybrid, I think is what it's called. What I like about this one is this one actually, it looks like a mini Pak Choi. You know how a Pak Choi has like a white like stem or base, and that this has that, and I kind of like that better. So I'm gonna grow that one instead of the tatsoi. And I also have some kale, so I'm going to do this Black Magic kale. And I think people kept telling me the blue one, and everywhere was out of stock, so I ordered the Black Magic. All right, this last tray I'm gonna fill with cabbages and some herbs. So cilantro is a good cool weather herb, so I'm gonna put some in here in the greenhouse. And my favorite basil is lettuce leaf basil, and I happen to get this one from Baker Creek. But lettuce leaf basil, I think it's a texture thing for me, because it tastes like basil, like Italian basil, I think. But the texture is lighter, crisper than other basil. This is like a lighter leaf, kind of a thinner leaf maybe, but it gets really big and it's easy to grow here, and I can sell it at the market, so it meets all of my criteria to be a favorite. We will plant, I'm gonna do 2 rows of that. I just can never have too much basil. My feet are getting cold out here. I'm gonna have to go in pretty soon. I just have my muck boots on. I should have wore actually warm boots, but it was 50 degrees in here today, so I didn't think I needed to. Cilantro seeds are pretty cool looking. They're a little bit bigger, so I'll do a couple of those, because I'm sure this cilantro isn't any newer than the basil for 2021. Yeah, we'll see. This, my favorite cabbage, is what's growing behind me here. So can you see this all back here is this Brunswick cabbage, and it grows well outside and inside, as you can see. It gets to be a good size. Hi. I don't actually sell very much of it because there's somebody else there that grows like 9-pound cabbages, so it usually ends up just being ours. But it tastes really good.
I'm gonna go see if I can catch anything.
Oh, you're gonna go fishing today? Oh, I didn't realize.
I texted you, but it's funny.
I texted you back about the taco meat.
Yeah. Taco meat's made.
Okay. Bye. We'll see if he has any luck without me. I don't know. Could be tough. And I'm also going to, so this is a Napa cabbage. It's just called a Hilton Chinese cabbage. This is kind of like the stuff you make kimchi out of. I wouldn't say this is my favorite. It does seem to have a lot of pest pressure, but I am going to start it so that I have the variety out here, and it's another one that's from 2022, so I'm going to try to use up some of the seed. Do I have 2 new kinds or just one? Just one new kind. This is called Promise cabbage, and it is how many days? It's a long one, 96 days. So 11 days later, that's the cabbage back there. Looks like maybe these herbs were too old. I have the lettuce leaf basil and the cilantro. Oh, actually, there's a few up here of the basil, but the cilantro looks like maybe it was too old. Down here is that tray of lettuces, the Monte Carlo, which is this first one here. It looks great. But that year-round butterhead that I love so much doesn't look like it came up. So the other ones look pretty good. I'm going to remove the cover from the brassicas. The cauliflower and the broccoli really like to be warmer, like 70 degrees to germinate, and then after that you can take off the lids, but they literally germinate in like 3 days. Were planted on February 15th. All the cauliflower and the broccoli and the kale is back here. And they all look great. See a lovely example of air pruning. Do you see those roots in there? How they've stopped once they hit the air. The last thing I planted was a couple of varieties of celery, and that was on February 23rd, so just a few days ago. Celery takes kind of a long time, and the trouble I've had with celery is that it can bolt if you let it get below, I think it's 55 degrees. Yeah, so while it's germinating, you want to keep it between 55 and 70. It's kind of specific. I think it's a Mediterranean plant, so it's a little touchy here in our less than balmy climate. So I started pretty early. I for sure keep it inside in the mudroom under the grow light so that it stays warm enough. And then it's about 85, 90 days. I think the Tango variety is a pretty well-known market farmer variety, this Tango. But this is also another one from Baker Creek. It's an heirloom called D'Elne, I don't know. But this one did really well for us too. It probably did as well as the Tango did. And once I got it to germinate well and put it outside, I didn't grow it in the greenhouse, but when I grew it outside, it did really well with minimal maintenance. It is a heavy feeder, so I did put it in a freshly composted bed. And as you can see, after only 3 days, nothing has shown up yet for the celery. So what are you guys growing? I'd love to hear what your favorite varieties are. We're always looking to grow new stuff. I will make another video about my favorite tomato, cucumber, warm season stuff after I start those. I don't usually start those until mid-March, so I'll make another video for that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. And if you're new here, we hope you'll subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.